Okay, this is day 2 of the Honda Media Event 2018 Goldwing Ride. This is January 22nd, 2018. I've gotten a little bit more familiar with the bike since this is the second day and the bike's controls, so let me go over a few things. First thing I want to show you is on the right hand handlebar there's a button right here. I'm on the DCT transmission model, and if I push this button you see this little D indicator here in the dash. Okay, when I push this button that D indicator goes out. That means I'm in now the manual transmission mode. And I'm sorry, I've got a lot of crosswind today, so there's going to be some wind noise on this video. Anyway, now I'm in the automatic transmission mode, and I used the paddle shifters on the left handlebar here. There's a forward upshift and a rearward position downshift button. So if I want to downshift, I just hit the button. There I'm in 6th, 5th. I want to upshift 6th, 7th. Now you'll also notice I'm in the tour mode here. If I want to change modes, which changes the vehicle suspension settings, how the throttle reacts to inputs, the braking system, and the traction control system or torque control system. So that button is right here. It's a mode switch. So when I click that mode switch, you'll see the mode change. That just cycled it to sport. Now you have to let off the throttle in order for it to change modes. Okay, so now I'm in the sport mode. I'm still in manual transmission shifting. Alright, so the throttle's a little more sensitive, and the damping on the suspension, I can just slightly detect that it's stiffened up a little bit. So the rebound damping, compression dampening has changed slightly. So in the sport mode, a couple of things happen. Throttle obviously is more sensitive. The other change is if you put the transmission back in the automatic mode here, then the transmission will downshift more eagerly, and it will hold a gear. See, it's downshifting now to 5th because I'm in sports, and it will hold that gear a little longer as I accelerate through the turns. So sport mode also changes the automatic transmission shift points, and it's a little more aggressive mode. It's actually kind of a fun mode. Personally, when I'm in the sport mode, I actually prefer to be in control of the transmission, so it will hold whatever gear I put it in. But as you'll notice, when I shift gears here, it's almost seamless. It shifts so quick, it's almost, it's less than a second. So it shifts real quick, it shifts real smooth. The DCT transmission on this bike works excellent. Actually, it's a joy to ride this bike with a DCT transmission once you get used to it. The first day it takes some getting used to. Now I'm manually downshifting here. A couple other modes are, there's the Econ mode. I have to let off the throttle so it stops blinking. That means it's finished changing modes. The Econ mode is much less sensitive on the throttle, much more eagerly tries to shift into 7th gear when the transmission's in the automatic mode. Rain mode really desensitizes the throttle and also makes adjustments to the torque control system so your rear wheel doesn't slip. And there's the tour mode. So that's the mode that probably is the most, probably going to be the most often used mode of the 4. So there's the transmission and the vehicle modes. Some other things to note, there's some displays over here in the right hand that show you things like your range, your tire pressure, and those can be controlled through these two buttons here, the select and the set buttons on the console. Also, the tire pressure, you can display the tire pressure sensor by selecting the top level display there and cycling the set button, and it'll show you tire pressure stuff. So these numbers are a little small for us old guys to read without glasses, but you know, they're not bad. They could maybe be a little bit bigger. Over on the right hand side, you'll see I have the preload suspension set for 2-up with luggage. I have my heated seat turned on and my heated grips turned on, and the controls for the heated seat and grips are right here, these two buttons. And the navigation system, there's home button. You can go look at I can use the home button here on the right handlebar or left handlebar, and I can go look at my Apple CarPlay screen. I can actually engage Siri and ask her to call somebody or ask for questions. I can hit the home button again, and I can go back to the navigation screen. And then I can zoom out on the nav with these buttons right here, up and down buttons, zoom in and out on the nav. So one thing you do have to be mindful of when you're playing with this transmission in and out of the automatic and manual modes, when you put this transmission in the somehow I've got my bright lights on, so I'll have to find my high beam low beam switch here. I'm not sure I've found that one yet. There it is. High beam, low beam switch is right here. So there's high beams, you push out on it. There's low beams, you pull back on it. And let me let you hear the horn. It's a little different tone than it used to be. It's a little higher pitch, kind of a shrill tone. So there's the horn. Let's see, what else? Let me talk about the suspension a little bit. The suspension on this bike is nothing short of absolutely perfect. I had $3,000 worth of traction suspension on my old bike, and this bike's better. The front suspension absorbs bumps so well that you don't feel the bumps in the handlebars. And you know, one of the concerns I think folks have had with this new suspension system and steering system was that the road was going to feel, the rider was going to feel a little bit isolated from the road, and you weren't going to get as good a feedback. That appears not to be an issue. Now I'm in manual mode. Let me make note of something. Notice it's downshifting for me automatically here. So if you forget to downshift as you come to a stop, even in the manual mode, it will automatically downshift. However, I still have to upshift on my own because I'm in manual mode. It won't upshift unless I tell it to. Now, if I reach over here and push this button, put it back in the automatic mode, then I don't have to worry about anything. I can downshift just by giving it throttle, and it'll downshift for me. So the automatic mode's kind of nice if you just want to forget about messing with the shifter and just ride. Anyway, to get back to the suspension, the front suspension, you'll see these little things going up and down there as I ride. Those are the steering tie rods, and you really see the front end is working, but I'm not feeling those bumps. I can feel them, but you know, I get just enough feedback to tell what the front end is doing, but I don't get the jarring effect that you do on telescopic forks. The suspension on this thing is just a joy to behold. It really is. And the rear suspension feels very good as well. The bike being so much lighter, I can really just kind of toss it into a corner. And it's eager. It wants to go. It's ready. You know, the loss of weight, the 90 pounder or 80 pounds loss in weight has really made a difference. And of course the front end's narrower too, so there's not as much wind resistance. So they didn't add a lot of power to the engine, but it feels like they did when you ride it, just because it's got less aerodynamics drag and it's got less weight. So the bike feels more spirited. It feels more playful. It feels closer to the sport touring category in a lot of ways than the touring category. So I'm real pleasantly surprised with the way the bike handles and feels overall. It's just eager. It just wants to go. And if you put it in the sport mode, it's even more so, you know. So like here, I just put it in sport. You know, you get on a good twisty road and man, that thing's just ready to go. So let me show you the electric windshield. The full up position is pretty high. I'm actually looking through the windshield. The windshield's about 2 or 3 inches above my line of sight. And then the full down position, I get a lot more airflow. So, you know, I keep it right about there, right about level, you know, an inch or so under my line of sight. Now I'm in automatic mode, and you can feel the bike shifting in the corner here. And it shifts so smoothly that it doesn't even upset my line in the corner. So the transmission is really sorted out very well. I'm still in the sport mode, so you see the RPMs are really going up before it shifts. So if you don't want it to do that, you just take it out of the sport mode and put it back in the touring mode. Or you put the transmission in the manual mode and you shift yourself. But you gotta really kind of be easy on the throttle in the sport mode, because you know it takes a lot less input on the throttle to really make the engine want to take off in RPMs. The navigation system appears to be good. I have not been able to load a route into it. I just haven't had time to do that. We've been, you know, a little bit overwhelmed with new stuff on the bike between the Bluetooth connectors and the Apple CarPlay and all the other things. It's going to take me some time on the bike to sort out some of the navigation stuff and how all that works. So I can't talk too much about the navigation other than to let you see what the screens look like. It looks similar to the Garmin screens. The names of towns I notice do show up a little better on this. They're a little hard to read, like there's Fredericksburg, but the font on that name of the town's a little tough to see. I maybe would have liked them to use a different or a brighter font or a bolder font for those names of towns. But in the mirrors are good. I'm happy with the mirrors. When I first looked at the mirrors, they looked a little smallish to me, and I was a little worried about them, but you know what? The view out of the rear view mirrors is great. They're perfect. I don't have any problems. As far as wind on the rider, I do get a little more wind on my forearms right in here and my shoulders. But I don't get the buffeting on my helmet that I used to get. So actually the wind in the cockpit feels pretty good. It feels fairly well managed. I get more than I used to, but it's not really in a bad way. It's just the right amount of air. So especially in the summertime, I think it's going to be appreciated. The mirrors don't quite block as much. Now I'm in the sport mode again, so I'm kind of having to be careful on this throttle. I'm going to put this back in the tour mode here, just so I can talk without having to worry. Anyway, about the airflow, you do get a little more air on your hands from the smaller mirrors, and the opening on the sides of the mirrors allows a little more airflow on your hands. But it's really not an issue. The heated seats and grips seem to work real well. They work better than on the old bike. They get warmer. So I'm not able to run today it's like in the 40s when we left, and I'm not able to run the heated grips all the way to high. It was too hot. So that'll give you a good idea. And the same with the seat. I think I've got the seat set on about 4 bars out of 5 right now, and it's really too warm. I probably need to turn it down. So if I wanted to turn it down, I just hit this button, and you see the number of bars here goes down as I push that button. So now the heated grips and the heated seat are on low. So, and that's about right. The air temperature right now is 40 degrees out, if I'm reading that right. Or no, I'm sorry. The air temperature is 53, so we're already warming up in the day. So okay, we're cruising along here in the tour mode. I'm in automatic transmission mode. It's really kind of nice. I don't have to worry about anything on the motorcycle. I don't have to mess with shifting. I don't have to worry about what gear I'm in. I can actually focus on other things because of that. It reduces the workload on the rider, which allows me to kind of multitask a little better. And as I'm pointing stuff out around the cockpit and showing you that, you can see it's just one less thing I have to do. So I kind of like it. When I first got on this bike, started riding the DCT transmission, I wasn't sure I was going to like it for about the first hour and a half. Probably by the end of the first day, I was in love with it, and the more I ride it, the more I like it. So this bike to me feels like it was made for the DCT transmission. It really does. I think this transmission is a perfect fit for this touring type environment. The flexibility of being able to take it in and out of automatic and manual modes, and being able to change modes of the bike into the sport mode, and it's really flexible. So you can find a mode that makes you happy in just about every situation. So I'm good with the DCT transmission. Volume control over here. This is your volume control up and down for your audio volume. I'm not playing any music now or messing with any of the Bluetooth stuff, simply because I'm doing the video and it's just a little too much at one time. This button right here, I can bring up Siri anytime, and I can ask, "Hey Siri, what time is it?" And she tells me what time it is if I didn't get a good read on that, but I wasn't speaking too many things and Siri doesn't know what I want. So I'm just going to hit the home button, and that takes me back to my nav menu. But yesterday I composed a text message using Siri and sent it on the bike, and it worked well. I was sitting still when I did it. I think wind noise may be an issue when you use Siri at speed, especially on a day like today. But I'll play with that a little more later and get a better feel for it. This is disabled. This enter button and jog wheel is what you use to go through the menus when the bike is not moving. However, it doesn't work right now while I'm riding down the road, so that's currently disabled. And hopefully up here maybe we'll get into some twisty sections and I can play with the bike a little more and show you some more things. But overall the bike is a hit. It really is. It's a home run for Honda in my opinion. It just looks better. It feels better. It feels the right size. It feels eager to play. It's not tiring to ride, but yet it still has that Goldwing feeling to it. You still feel like you're on a touring bike, albeit a little bit smaller, but it just feels a little more compact, but it feels the right size. It really does. So I'm really happy with what Honda did overall. I think their execution was really good on this bike. I can't say enough good things about the suspension. I can't say enough good things about the transmission. The engine still has pretty much the 1800 character. It feels a little bit different, but it's not hugely noticeable now that it's a 4-valve per engine. It's got just a slightly different feel. It feels like it's got a little more in the mid-range and in the upper range RPMs. It feels like it's got just a tad more power. When you really get on it, the bike feels like it's just got a little more zip to it, a little more responsive to throttle input. So anyway, that's going to be the end of this video. I'll try to shoot some more when we get in a twisty section and I'm able to put it in the sport mode and really play. But so far, I'm really happy with this. Really happy with the bike.